Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. I'm Jeanette with Vivo Vintage Designs. Before we get started, let me remind you that all the products shown in this video will be listed in the description box along with links, so be sure to take a look if you have interest in any of these products. Also, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy the content of this video. And leave any questions below. I'll be sure to get back to you. So, about today's video. We're going to discuss watercolor paper, and I'm going to show you 3 different types of paper and paintings that I've done on each one so that you can make a decision regarding what type of watercolor you want to work with. So the first one I'm going to show you is this one here. This is You Create watercolor paper, and you get 50 sheets for about $12, maybe $11, I believe, and the sheets are 9 by 12. And this is great watercolor paper for the absolute beginner. You're giving it a try, you've bought some inexpensive watercolor, some brushes, and you want to see how you feel about watercolor. I recommend this paper for the absolute beginner, and I'll tell you that... Okay, sorry about the interruption. I forgot to put my phone on Do Not Disturb, and of course my daughter called. So anyway, getting back to this You Create paper, you get 50 sheets, and it's about $11 or so, and it's really great for the beginner because until you get some practice and know whether watercolor is for you, it's good for practice. And I can show you. I created this painting on the You Create paper, and it turned out all right. And we'll get further into this paper and its texture and what the good points about it are and the bad points. But anyway, that's You Create. Then there is the Canson 140-pound cold pressed paper, and this one comes in a pad, and it's great for, again, practice. And I think this is good if you decide that you like watercolor and you want to step it up a notch. Try this paper. It's not the greatest quality, but it's, again, good for practice, and it's not that expensive. I think you get, this one says 36 sheets, but normally it's 30 sheets, and you can buy this for about $10 a pad. Then, my all-time favorite is this here. This is Arches, and it's 100% cotton. It's 140 pounds, and it's cold pressed. And the quality of this paper is really, really nice. Once you get comfortable with watercolor and you decide that this is something you want to pursue and you want to learn more and do better, I do recommend this paper. Now I'm going to show you a few pieces that I've done and the difference between the papers. So, all right, I showed you this painting, which I did on the You Create. It turned out well. I was just messing around, and it's great also, this paper, for making greeting cards. It's really thick and heavy, so if you want to make some fun little greeting cards, I have a few videos. You can check out my playlist, and you'll find some nice ideas. This is great for greeting cards if you're like me and don't like buying them. I prefer to make them. And then this was just a little practice, florals, and this again is on the You Create paper. And one of the problems that you'll see is that the water, it doesn't dry evenly. It leaves these splotches. Some people like them, some people don't. I happen to like them, so I'm not bothered by it. Again, this is great paper to practice on. Then I'll show you a painting that I did on the Canson paper, and I also did the painting on Arches. So this is on the Canson paper, and it turned out pretty well, but this is on the Arches paper. And it looks much better on the Arches. The water, it dries evenly on the paper. It stays wet longer, so it allows you to add shading or to lift the paint. It's just great paper. And this one turned out well, but you can see that there's some splotches because it doesn't dry evenly. It doesn't stay wet long enough. So it's just not the same. Seriously, when you want to try some really good paper, try the Arches and try the 100% cotton. I think it's really great quality. So now that you've seen a couple of paintings on all the different papers. I want to delve a little bit deeper into this and show you a few paintings, the difference in the paintings. So here I have the Arches, the You Create, and the Canson. Okay, the texture of this paper, the You Create, it's very smooth. And it doesn't, like I said, it dries very quickly. It doesn't allow you to play with the paint and add blooms. The Canson is a little bit rougher, and it's great for practice once you decide that definitely watercolor is for you and you want to do better paintings. Then I have the Arches, which has a little bit more texture to it, and I'll show you the difference between the two as we paint. So for this demonstration, I'll be using my Muño palette, and I just got this the other day. Again, I really like the quality of this paint for the price. I think I paid maybe like $45 for it, and you have 48 colors, and the range of colors is really nice. I'll show you on here. Turn it around. So I always, whenever I get a new palette, I do swatches so that I know what color is where. And it's got a great array of colors, and it even has some metallics. And I really like this set a lot. And I have a few of them. But so far, this is my favorite, especially for the price, because it was really not that expensive for what you get. And the pan paints, I find, last a good long time. All right, so let's try the You Create first. So this paper I bought on Amazon. It's 140 pounds. The sheets are 9 by 12. You get 50 sheets, and it's $10.99. So I'm just going to use the paint that I have on my palette here. And we're going to activate that paint, dry off my brush a little bit, and we're going to just paint a simple rose. So I'm going to start with a couple of little C curves. And I'm using my Princeton Aqua Elite brushes. I'll get into that in another video, the brushes. So I'm just going to put down some little C curves, make them bigger as I go out. And you can see that the paint does not sit evenly on the paper. I have wet spots, and I mean, like I said, it's fine for practicing when you're learning. Okay, so that's a rose on the You Create. Simple rose. Now we're going to do the same thing on the Canson paper. You can move these little puddles of pigment around. Okay, so there we have 2 roses so far. And I'm not going to play with them too much. I want them to dry on their own, and so that you can see the difference. And now we're going to do one on the Arches. I'm just going back into my palette and picking up some paint. Can you guys hear my dog snoring in the background? Okay, you can see already that the paint on here is much smoother than it is on the other papers, and I'm going to give this a chance to dry and come back and show you the three together. So you know what, I think I'll add some petals to these roses on all three. Now, like I said, this paper stays wet longer, so you can actually move your paint around and you can define your petals, or your leaves in this case, whereas the others don't stay wet as long. And then you get some really nice bleeds. Like you can add a little bit extra paint and let it bleed into your paper, and that creates a little depth. So you see, this is still wet. I can still play with this as long as I want. I can make my leaves bigger because it's still wet, but the others don't dry the same. So, all right, let's go back to the Canson. So I'm just picking up a little bit more pigment on my brush. And just going to add a couple of little leaves. And already this is drying. So if you're working on the Canson, you just have to work quick. It's not like it's really bad paper. It's just good paper to practice on. And it just doesn't dry evenly. I have sections here that are already drying, and I have areas where it's puddling. Okay, now let's go to the You Create. Load up my brush. You can see it's already drying. So if I go over it, it creates a dark line, almost like a wet on dry. So you've got to go back and re-wet the entire area with your brush. And you can move that pigment around. So let's go to the arches. I'll bring this closer so that you can see. You can see that it's still wet. I can actually go back and add more detail in here, more blooms, darker colors to bleed into the lighter color, and that's what you want. Then we have the Canson. You can see that it doesn't dry evenly. You get these splotches. And then you have the You Create, which again doesn't dry evenly, and you get those splotches, but it's good for practice. So those are the three papers that I'm recommending for you. For the absolute beginner, the You Create is fine, good for practice, practicing water control, practicing your brush techniques, and altogether just practicing until you get comfortable enough that you feel that you want to try something better. And then I would recommend the Canson. It's good for the more advanced beginner, so to speak. And once you're confident with your technique and water control and such, give the arches a try. Now, the arches on Amazon, I purchased 12 sheets, 9 by 12 for $21.66, and this is 100% cotton. The Canson, the XL pad, is cold press, 140 pounds, and the pad is 7 by 10, and a 2-pack of 30 sheets each was $24.88, which is a good price. And then the Ucreate, of course, has the best price point because you get 50 sheets of 9 by 12 for $10.99. Well, I hope you found this video informative and that you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. It's me again, Jeanette with Vivo Vintage Designs. After watching the video I just made, I realized that I forgot to mention something. 140 pounds is very important when you're buying your watercolor paper because that's the thickness of the paper, and I believe that it's 140 pounds per ream. So if you go below 140 pounds, the paper is thinner, and what happens with the thinner paper is that it will buckle and warp as it absorbs the water, and your painting doesn't lay very flat, and it's difficult to paint on paper that isn't flat. So it's really important that you be mindful of the weight of the paper and that you don't go below 140 pounds because the paper will be much thinner and difficult to work with. So I wanted to make sure that I came back and mentioned that because I realized that I didn't do so in the previous video. All right, thanks. Bye.